Your golf ball is the most technologically advanced, or it's not. Your golf ball is either the most consistent, or it's not. It's the most trusted, or it's not. The fact is, it's either Titleist, the best performing golf ball in the world, or it's not. Prove it for yourself. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. What will you play?
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 60 of the Playing from the Tips podcast, Golf Australia magazine show that gives you all the good oil and some questionable tips each week on all the action in professional golf. Jimmy Emanuel is my name and I will be your host yet again as we reflect on the week that was and bring you up to speed on LIV Golf Adelaide, the Zurich Classic, ISPS Honda Championship and JM Eagle LA Championship. Joining me to do so is first a man who somehow maintains his high level of credibility in the golf world, despite being one of the few people I've ever seen put an oversized grip on a Wilson 882 putter. Rod Murray, welcome. Defend yourself.
There's a crime against humanity.
That's one of the worst things I've ever seen done.
I did it because the grip that came off was not the original Wilson grip. Had it been the Wilson grip, I never would have done it. You know, with a little red badge on the top. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't one of those. Someone had already replaced it with something rubbishy, and I've got.
So that justifies you disfiguring it.
Well, I've got hands like a bunch of bananas, as you've pointed out more than once, Logue. So I need a bigger grip to hang on to on the
little Roddy Murray. He's like his tiny frame with massive
just giant hands.
Yeah.
One of those basketball hands. That's what I am.
That's very good, actually. Next, now with two major tips on the trot. Adrian Logue may well have been foxing earlier in the year with his dry run of results, but now with two dominant figures in the world of golf, probably won't miss again, will you? Because you'll just pick them every week.
Great triumvirate. version 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Nelly, Scotty, Logue.
The point of the game is people want to know who's going to win, and I just tell them, I give them the answer to that.
Okay.
Simple capitalism. Market forces.
Yeah.
Demand drives supply. There you go.
Okay. Well, given we're talking about it, we'll start with our tips as opposed to what we normally do with last week. Logue added to his own win tally, major record, whatever, with Nelly Korda. While there was 3 top 10s in the collective group, that takes us to 9 wins and 58 top 10s so far in 2024. Yet again, completely unrivaled by any other tipping podcast recorded at Sydney Podcast Studios.
Complex. It's a complex.
Complex?
Sydney Podcast Studios complex.
Yes. Okay.
Soon to be compound, if we expect.
I was going to say compound. Yeah, let's make it a compound.
This would be perfect. If we could take over the rest of the rooms, we could really have a compound.
Yeah,
just a little bit of barbed wire and guard dogs or something.
Yeah, make it look intimidating. Yeah, very good. On last week, Nelly Korda, the story, 5th win in a row, joins Nancy Lopez and Annika Sorenstam to do it on the LPGA Tour, but this one a major. Going in with everyone saying she's going to win is probably the hardest thing to do. And impressive cannonball into the water, by the way.
Yeah.
I like that they've kind of tried to maintain that, but anyway.
Give up on that, anyway.
Yeah. Takeaways from Nelly last week?
You run out of superlatives, don't you? What is there to say? It's just a performance that speaks for itself. With her and Scheffler at the moment, I thought Clayt's hit it on the head. You know, who doesn't want to see Scotty Scheffler and Nelly Korda in a President's Cup?
Yeah.
We've finally got narratives that are matching.
Yeah.
And whilst Nelly hasn't had the coverage she deserves, you probably couldn't. It's been better than probably in the past. I think there's some positive there. For America to have its own LPGA superstar, and she's a genuine superstar, that's massive in every way, I think, for the LPGA. But just bow down to extraordinary golf. And you're right, under pressure that most of us couldn't even imagine, I would think.
Yeah. What an era we're living through. The parallel between these two players asserting their dominance in their respective fields, it's just quite amazing. But and the way they're doing it with their B game as well. Nelly was pretty solid all week, but she just sort of limped home, but it was never truly troubled, it seemed.
No.
How do good players
and
do
Scheffler
that?
just easily won the RBC. We thought he'd be tired. It's just
How do good players do that, Jimmy? You can tell they're not playing well, but they're still leading and winning. How does that? Whereas guys who are running second go, he's playing great. You know, he might catch him. This guy's not playing very well, and yet he stays in front. How do they make that work?
That I think in both those cases is people who know they're playing at the very peak of their power, so their A game is that much better. So when the brief moments they do get it, they separate themselves from the field. Yeah. But they're in such a mindset of, I'm playing so good I can't hit a bad shot. Yeah. The trust there is incredible. So you're faced with a little bit of an iffy shot. There's no thought about Scheffler with the 4-iron into 13 on Sunday at Augusta is the perfect example. That's not an easy golf shot to hit at any time, let alone under the pressure, trying to win a major, etc. It was never another thought, and he just executed. Yeah. Nelly was the same. There was a couple of spots where you got to hit this shot. She just hit the shot. And that's, I think, the difference in them. Interestingly, I think, who was the last American LPGA star, do you think?
Lexi, I think, would be.
Lexi had potential to be
the superstar.
To be the superstar.
As did Michelle Wee.
As did Michelle Wee. At times, Paula Creamer was pushed a little bit. But
so you're going way back.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone really has taken that mantle the way Nelly has. Yeah. She's obviously the best player in the world, but of that American dream LPGA Tour player, we haven't had it for a long time. And it's amazing to watch.
Just extraordinary. And hats off to her. And look, we've been saying it here for ages. The LPGA is a fabulous product, and if you're not engaging with it, that's on you.
I think the encouraging thing about Nelly as well is that she's been around for years. It seems like a long time ago. She was out at the Vic Open in 2019. But yeah, I think I first saw her at the Vic Open.
Yeah, that's right.
A couple of years before that even. She's been around for a long time, and it's good to see a player not just have a couple of their couple of best years early on, and then you never hear from them again. Yep. She's built up to this, and it feels sustained. It's really good to see.
And I think with her, she's dragging along a little bit of what we need for the LPGA Tour. So we had a lot of complaints about slow play. Mm-hmm. That only comes when people are paying attention.
Yep.
It's annoying that people focus on it during a major, but it means people know and they're watching. Yeah. That's a positive sign for coverage. It was
noticeable.
Unfairly, the LPGA, maybe they've changed their policy. They're the only ones who've ever actually done anything about slow play in professional golf. I remember they pinged that, I can't remember her name. It was like on the 10th tee Sunday of a major when she just joined the lead with Annika Sorensen, was one off the lead or something. They pinged her, I think, a shot for slow play. Can you imagine if that happened at the US Open or anything like that? So in their defence, they've done a lot about slow play, the LPGA, far more than the PGA Tour. But yes, it's an ongoing problem. Slow play is not fun to watch.
Yep. Last week, Scheffler again wins the RBC Heritage. Arguably, very impressive for someone to come off a major and just win again with everything going on. Just simply incredible.
Wave, isn't it?
Yep. That's just he's just.
Would have been easier to take the week off.
Absolutely.
It's not unprecedented, but it's very unusual. And you don't expect it these days. I don't think.
No, you don't see them play the week after, and if they do, it's. They've been in celebration mode, and
it's a guy who didn't expect to win the major, and he's committed to the week after.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, or he's a big Travelers Championship fan. It's just The other one that stood out for me was Miles Russell, who's the 15-year-old who top 20 on the Corn Ferry Tour, gets in the next week as well, and just serious ability. Yeah, serious ability. Let's move along to this week in. All of that gone away. Given the proximity to home for us, and that it will be the event with the most eyeballs in the world golf this week, let's go with LIV Golf Adelaide to jump off. Taylor Gooch defends. John Rahm makes his first individual start in Australia, and so much more. Rahm made some comments, I think, talking about coming to Australia, and he remembers the Australian Open and Aussie PGA being watched on TV, and he wishes there was more done. He's never done it before.
Could have done something about that.
Interesting sort of a thing. But, it's... Anyway,
others
he's here.
Have done it.
Yeah, he has come and played the World Cup of Golf. Played with Rafa Cabrera a couple of times.
It's not a criticism. You can play where you want, but don't complain that you never got to play in Australia when you could have come and played here any time. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
It's not like you would have been asked to put your hand in your pocket for flights or accommodation or, you could have come here on a guaranteed wicket and played if you'd wanted to. So don't blame others for that not being the case.
But he is here, and he, like the rest of the field, will be at the Grange Golf Club, which welcomes LIV for a second time. Yet again, looking at this event for the preview, you kind of have to marvel at how little the golf course plays a role in the lead-up stuff for LIV events. Mm-hmm. This has more about it on the LIV website than any other one I've seen. Mm-hmm. and it's a couple of pars about the golf course.
Is that true broadly? I think the PGA Tour don't do a terrific
Well,
job.
no, the
talking
PGA
about
Tour will
courses.
get your first look, and there's a bit of designer and length, and there's a couple of key holes. Asian Tour, when they do a media release, there'll be a little bit about it, but I don't know if it's the shift of professional golf generally that people care less about it, or whether it's just where they're playing.
They're not chasing the architecture crowd, you don't think?
I don't think so.
Trying to corner the market on.
I don't think so. It is interesting from the fact that it's probably the best golf course they play.
I couldn't agree more.
It's a composite course of 9 holes from Greg Norman redesigned East Course at the Grange and 9 holes from the Mike Clayton redesigned West Course. Mike Clayton's back 9 is the tournament back 9, and then the back 9 of the East Course is the front 9. Mm-hmm. But a bit of a mix of holes. It's not just 1 to 9. Very Australian golf bunkering that's fantastic. Firm and fast fairways. Last year, watching it there, definitely took them a little bit of time to get used to it and learn how to do it. And the sort of better ball strikers, better players stood up as the ones who kind of learnt it the quickest. It is an interesting composite because they're quite polarized different golf courses.
Yeah. They're themed a little bit differently.
They are. They're very it was very much. It's clear that both the guys were given different briefs about what the club wanted, and two very different golf course designers. So it doesn't necessarily flow that well. But I think again that speaks to, hey, this is the 18 holes we're playing this week, and who has the lowest score wins. So there probably won't be a lot of architecture talk. There'll be more talk about the 12th hole and the watering hole, where Chase Koepka made a hole in one, and it's quite a scene, but that's what LIV's about. You've got Rahm leads the overseas charge, Brooks Koepka, Joaquin Niemann, Bryson DeChambeau, some good form from some of the bigger names, which LIV hasn't had much of this year necessarily. All-Australian team, Ripper GC, Cam Smith, Mark Leishman, Matt Jones, and Lucas Herbert will get his first taste of LIV in Australia, and I think will absolutely love
expect him to
moment. Yeah. But all the usual sort of players, Anthony Kim, you'll notice if you follow any of the social media stuff, a lot of them got here early and went to all different places. So Kevin Na, Danny Lee have been in Sydney. Matt Wolf and a couple others were down in Melbourne playing sandbelt golf courses with a couple of Aussie guys. Anthony Kim was in Adelaide early. It again speaks to the strength of Australia as not just the golf venue.
Yeah.
They've all gone, oh yeah, I want to go there. I want to go spend some time there.
Yeah, well, especially if you've got to come all the way here anyway.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you? You'd be mad.
And you got the week off before
that's
and
exactly
everything
right,
like that.
So good to see that.
With all that in mind, let's get some tips. Logue, how do you pick a favourite amongst this field?
I go with my heart. I'm going with Abe Answer, Aussie Abe.
Aussie Abe.
To win on Australian soil again.
Yeah.
Nice.
He did good by me earlier in the year as well, I think. Yep.
Nice. Rod?
I've gone with Cam Smith. I think the sort of golf suits him. He played all right here last year. Cam Smith's
played himself into form. Very impressive at the Masters.
I thought so too. And really great. Did not have much go his way and really ground it out. Yep. So I think that's a pretty good lead up.
I'm going to go with Joaquin Niemann. Okay. Another one who's won an Australian Open, seems to get it, showed some decent form at the Masters as well, and just seems to be determined. Yeah. He's got that sort of really, I'm going to show everyone what I can do sort of thing in his...
Just before we move on, I think the Grange is the best example of it, but what a tragedy we don't have the Australian Women's Open in Adelaide anymore, because Adelaide golf, I think, certainly globally underrated, but in Australia we underrate it too. There's some fantastic golf over there. It'll be great to watch. I remember that Nelly Corder straight up you were talking about, just some terrific golf. She was chipping with 4 irons and bumping it around the greens. Just interesting strategic golf. So.
Well, I believe No Laying Up featuring some Adelaide golf in
they are indeed
tour source.
Absolutely.
Good to see it get a bit of recognition.
Yeah.
Your golf ball is the most technologically advanced, or it's not. Your golf ball is either the most consistent, or it's not. It's the most trusted, or it's not. The fact is, it's either Titleist, the best performing golf ball in the world, or it's not. Prove it for yourself. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. What will you play?
Next, either coincidentally or by design, the PGA Tour does its team golf thing the same week as LIV's biggest show. Their version, 2-man teams at the Zurich Classic of New Orleans. That's Adrian falling asleep. Rod?
This format just
wake us back up. I don't think the format's that bad.
I just can't decide. Every time I've watched it, it's been like, yeah, no, maybe, yeah, no, I don't know. So 4-ball round 1 and 3, foursomes round 2 and 4. I don't know. What else do you do with it?
It's just like watching a club comp 4-ball best ball. Like there's nothing exciting about that.
Kind of the way we bang on and on and on about 72-hole stroke play events, and we need something different. The PGA Tour serves up something different and somehow makes the difference seem bland. I don't know how they managed to pull it. Maybe it's just our prejudice, but I can't recall any great finishes from this event. It should be a great festival, but it kind of doesn't reach those heights.
Well, what you want from team golf is strategy. So like that's what you get with the Ryder Cup. Everyone overlooks that. Like when you're watching it, you're imagining yourself in that role as the team manager, the team captain, and you're thinking about the strategy. There's none of that with this. It's just two players, and you can't really work out who's playing well, and it's worse than single player stroke play. I respect them trying something, but it's just slapping the team label onto something,
kind of,
just for the sake of it, and not actually thinking about what's an engaging.
I should
format.
be interested. I want to be interested in this every year, and I just never quite get there. Look, maybe that's on us, but I'm sure there's people who do like it. And having said that, it's a field of PGA Tour golfers playing a different form of golf. If you're a golf nerd, you kind of should be into it. Certainly have a look at it and see. You get the sense. And I think you sense this sometimes at the Ryder Cup too. The players just aren't comfortable in these formats particularly, so it doesn't make for a great – there's more tension about the playing than normal. So instead of it being a fun event where, you don't get that. And a lot of the guys in this team event, particularly because your PGA Tour player gets to pick their partner, they only have to basically be a professional. The bar's pretty low. So you get a lot of guys coming in here, they're just there for a week. Anyway, look, it'll be interesting because it's golf. Some interesting pairings, I think. So you've got the 3 sets of brothers, the Højgaards, Fitzpatricks, and the Cooties, Pearson and Parker.
Yep.
So that'll get a lot of play on the coverage, which will be annoying fairly quickly. But McIlroy and Shane Lowry, Francesco Molinari and Luke Donald. Here's one I reckon's interesting, Jimmy. Willie Zalatoris and Sahith Theegala. I don't know why I called him Willie, but there you go.
I like it.
I did.
I like it. Yeah, good.
It's good
Harding
work.
did it to me.
It's
so
good work, Roddy.
Yeah, that's right.
No, that's good. Willie Z.
Zalatoris and Sahith Theegala. There'll be a bunch of cool kids on that.
Yeah,
won't there?
Yeah, there'll be a bunch of flush long irons in that group.
Well, if you want to see long, Garrick Higo and Ryan Fox.
Oh yeah,
that's some bombing going on there. Fox, maybe for the first time in his life, will stand over a second shot and say, "I've never played from up here before," and that might never have happened to him in his career. So look, it's different. We should celebrate that. It doesn't feel like it's done particularly well, but give it a go. Have a watch this week. There'll be some interesting stuff, no doubt. I'm going to tip the Fitzpatricks because why wouldn't you?
Okay.
Nice.
Because why wouldn't you? I'd have thought you'd have gone with the Højgaards.
I thought about it.
How can you resist
your rule is if there's a Højgaard, I've got to tip him. And there's double Højgaard.
Not together.
Not
together.
Oh, okay.
No, never together. I'll never win a team event.
Flawed as a team.
Yeah, flawed as a team.
Okay. I think Logue's just upset because he's a big
I think he was going to pick the Fitzpatricks. There was an element of that too.
No.
Did
they both burn their bridges last week, did they?
Pretty much.
They're on the list with Ferguson.
They had their shot. Boring week, boring pick. Cantlay and Schauffele.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay. No one's interested in Rory and Shane Lowry?
Well,
no.
Not really.
Wow.
I don't see either. If you've played Ryder Cup and won majors, you're not getting up for the Zurich Classic.
Yeah, the only thing in its favour, though, is that the stakes aren't very high, and Rory is, I think, always a good pick when the stakes aren't very high.
That's probably fair. I also am not interested in them, to be fair.
That's a bit of a drive-by.
Yeah, that was a creeper too. It was the second or two before I realised what you'd said.
Wow.
Let that percolate for a moment.
That's one that will simmer and maybe come back.
Yes.
I'm going to go for Colin Morikawa and Kurt Kitayama. That's a ball-striking machine fest sort of thing. That's just going to be ridiculous how many they're going to hit close, and they'll hole enough putts to win. Colin Morikawa's played well in this before. It's just everything about that is. And also they got the good vibes going. They play together at home and practice a lot together, know their game.
Both have shown good form the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move along. And in the wake of a memorable major, the LPGA continues its season in California this week, where they're kind of jumping a bit back and forth, but they go to the JM Eagle LA Championship presented by Plus Pro. Logue, tell us about it.
Double-barreled sponsor week for the LPGA. It's always good to see. This is played at Wilshire Country Club. It's the second year of this event, and I actually previewed this one last year, And I got a lot of information from its website, the jmeaglechampionship.com website.
Oh, yeah.
But where they had the tagline last year, LPGA goes Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
They've discarded that this year. I was very disappointed to see that they've discarded that. But the reason
Someone
being...
pick up a Gregory's and realise the regions, or...
This is obviously played at Wilshire, which famously doesn't allow actors to be member of the club, I believe. Or is that Riviera does that? Anyway,
no, Riviera.
I don't think Riviera does. Riviera's got some high profile.
Wilshire, I think, is the one that doesn't allow actors to be members. And but does have some excellent views of the Hollywood sign. It's well, first of all, I've got to address the elephant in the room, the double-barrel sponsors.
Yes.
Here. JM Eagle is a manufacturer of plastic pipe.
Right.
Oh. Okay.
Well, think about a world without it. They're doing an important job.
Yeah. Yep. They produce fine plastic pipe products.
It's a very regal sort of a name for in such manufacturing.
Indeed. And Plast Pro has more of a plastic pipe connotation to it, don't you think?
Yeah, Plast Pro is that not like Band-Aids, like
no
plasters?
No, fiberglass doors.
Oh,
sorry,
fiberglass doors.
Just doors. No other fiberglass products. Just doors.
Fiberglass.
You need a fiberglass door.
Yeah.
Where do you use a fiberglass door? Maybe studios do. Maybe I should have one here.
Yeah. If this is going to be a compound, it needs a fiberglass
it's going to need some fiberglass
Yeah, what are we even doing here if you don't have a fiberglass door?
I am genuinely intrigued now. Did you not look any further? I really want to know what they are and what they're used for.
I didn't look any further, except for the logo, which predictably is just three things smooshed together. Like you've got a tournament name and two logos that you've got to somehow jam in together. Oh, that's what they did. They just jammed them in together.
Set the parameters and shove everything in there.
No imagination at all, as we've come to expect from these events where sponsors just somehow just jam their logo in there.
Yep.
So that's what you get. However, the purse is very generous here. This is maybe the most noteworthy thing about this week. Apart, excellent field, excellent venue, and excellent purse, which is something we want to see more of in the LPGA. 3.75 million, up from 3 million last year, and it was already one of the highest purses on the LPGA outside of the majors. So very good to see there, and it has attracted quite a good field, which is a tough ask after the week after a major, as we've just talked about with the RBC last week. Hannah Green is defending champ, and she'll be going up against a superb field, as I mentioned. No Nelly Corder, understandably.
She withdrew quite late, actually. She was in the field until just a few hours ago.
Taking a rest. Celine Boutier, Runin Yin, Jin Yong Ko, who's had some shots at trying to win at Wilshire in the past, but come unstuck because of the Barranca.
Didn't she hit it in the Barranca?
Yeah, she
took a 9 or something, just hacked around.
Barranca action.
I was waiting to hear the word Barranca.
Charlie Hull is in the field, Nasa Hataoka and Ayaka Furue. The Australians, I'm just going to go with first names, as you suggested last week.
Yep.
Right, Minji, Grace, Steph, Sarah, Gabby, Karis, Robin, and Hira.
It's a great time to be an Australian women's golf fan.
Absolutely.
What's that, seven in the field
plus
in
Hannah,
LPGA?
Plus Green,
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Wilshire, on Wilshire just briefly, it is fairly familiar to us at this point.
Yep.
Having hosted the LA Open before this in recent years, this is the LA Championship, not the LA Open.
Yep.
So it is different. But recently renovated by Kyle Phillips, who did a lot of reshaping and restoring of the bunkers and clearing the sight lines, which has given us those wonderful views of the Hollywood sign. And I think, very memorable, obviously, for the Barranca. That comes into play in several holes, but also a very exciting par 3 finish.
Yep.
That hole normally plays as the 10th, I think, in the normal routing of the course, but they've got it all lined up so that it's the 18th. And, this very unusual downhill par 3 with a shallow green and diabolical chip. Yep. No matter where you miss it, it's diabolical.
Yep.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And Hannah Green won in I think it was a 3 or 4 hole playoff, maybe 5-hole playoff or something.
Yeah. And Aditya Shock, I think, was in the early parts of it as well.
And they threw in some fantastic shots into that hole. So I think, you'll get a good player win this week.
Yep.
It's always throwing up a good ball striker. My pick is an Australian adjacent player again. Ashley Buhai, Aussie Ash.
Yep.
As I like
Aussie
to
Ash and
Yeah,
Aussie
nice.
A.
Yeah.
Theme developing here. Nice work.
Nice, I like it. Two-time Australian
there we
Open
go.
winner.
Yeah.
Rod?
I haven't tipped Ayaka Furuaway for a while. She finished well here last year, so I think I'll go with Ayaka. She's just such a steady player. This sort of golf should suit her, I would think. She hasn't got the carry that some of the other players have got the carry distance, but she gets the ball around when
Good
she...
value for quality shots.
Yeah, well,
Here, I think.
Absolutely.
When you can get it on the ground and still work
Yeah.
towards holes, that's her go. She can do that well. So yeah, I don't mind her chances here this week.
Okay. I am going to go with one of the Australians. I'm going to go with Gabby Ruffles.
Yeah.
Showed a little bit last week at different stages throughout. Didn't finish it off that well, but genuine flusher. West Coast person, so used to all the climate, all that sort of stuff, the golf and everything like that.
She's just building.
Just
nicely.
building
This career
towards
is just
something, and there's
building
just going to
nicely.
be and in the short history of this tournament, there's already been 2 Australian winners. So why not? We just keep going. Do they still have the mini Hollywood sign for the winner to have the photo in front of?
Oh, that didn't come up in my...
I think they had it one year and then it was gone soon
I
after.
wonder if it's made of fiberglass.
Some sort of copyright issue, perhaps.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe somebody dropped it.
Happens.
It just no longer exists.
Happens.
it did.
Trophies and
That's exactly
tournament
right.
signs all the time. Very good. All right. Finally, the DP World Tour resumes, this time in Japan, where it co-sanctions with the Japan Golf Tour for the ISPS Honda Championship. Rod, tell us all about it.
Co-sanctioned event, as you mentioned. A little bit of an Asian swing, 2 tournaments. Japan this week, China Open next week for the DP World Tour. So that makes it somewhat sensible for the players who make their way down there to at least be in the region. Of all the tours, I think the European or DP World Challenge Tour, if you have a look at their schedule sometimes and the flights they've got to make between, it's just nuts. The travel alone, forget about the expense, just the torturous travel. So,
Challenge Tour and LET Tour.
LET, yeah, exactly. Who did the air flight path? Was it last year? Was it Claire Rogers
Claire Rogers did one, and then a bunch
mapped
of
out
players.
it was like of where the players went. Yeah, just amazing. The Taiheo Golf Club, I think they own 18 courses, Taiheo. I'm assuming they're to do with the Visa Taiheo Masters. I haven't done enough of a sponsor watch here, clearly. So it's the host venue. This is where they played the 2001 World Cup. Niels Retief Hoosen won that one. Basically a new golf course since there. Rhys Jones redid it with Hideki Matsuyama as a consultant in 2018. And I imagine there's plenty of golf courses that now have Hideki Matsuyama's name attached since he won the Masters a couple of years ago. That'd be a popular choice. Japanese golf's always interesting. You've seen it up close, I assume. None of the rest of us have. You've been to Japan. Does it? Am I imagining? Does it have a bit of a look?
Oh, yeah.
Japanese golf. It's different, isn't it?
Definitely.
You look at the golf course, you go, oh, that'd be a Japanese golf course.
Yeah, they do a lot. I mean, I think from the photos I've seen of this course as well, they do this. There's overseeded rye fairways, so you often get this two-tone sort of look about it.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
This isn't meant as a bad thing, but there's a bit of a soulless look about a lot of Japanese golf courses, and I don't know whether this one has the 2 green complexes.
I think it does. I think that's a
blessing.
If it's been redone in
are-
2018, you'd imagine they'd redone the grasses, which was the main reason for that, for the winter-summer thing.
Those are fairly ridiculous. It's hard enough to find. I mean, the argument always is it's hard enough to find one good green complex or one good green site without having to find a site that can do 2 greens.
Yeah, that's right. Well, like 18 of them, or 9 of them.
The original reason for it, as you know, is not needed anymore with the different seasonal grasses. So.
Yeah. Look, it'll be an interesting week. So I can't say too much about the golf course, but we'll see what unfolds. Mixed field, obviously, being co-sanctioned, so a lot of Japanese stars, Takumi Kanaya in particular, and Keita Nakajima. They feel like a new breed to me, Jimmy. The issue with Japanese golfers in the past is not that they haven't been good enough. The travel's been difficult. You had great players in the 80s and 90s from Japan. They always struggled outside of Japan. Seems to be less of that. I think Hideki's really been a trailblazer there for the likes of Kanaya and Nakajima, who Ryo Hitsatsuni, who now play internationally.
I think someone like Hideki's important, but we've spoken about him before on this, and you can't give him enough praise. Gareth Jones and the role he's done with the men's particularly team of amateur golf and taking them around the world to play events. You know, having a couple of Australian Open spots every year and bringing a couple of players, Nakajima and Kanaya both came and played a couple of times, exposing them to global golf and encouraging go out and travel and play around the world. And now there's a lot more money overseas as well, so they go and do it. So it's definitely a slightly different there. I think the golf in Japan, like you said, has a look, it has a style. So learning to play overseas is quite a big shift.
Yeah.
It's not golf that travels that well necessarily, or has in the past. So it's a learning process, but they've had 3 DP World Tours and DP World Tour winners in the last little while, so it's a successful sort of a move.
It's sort of bubbling away, isn't it? You're sort of seeing Japanese players come through. On the DP World side, Matteo Manassero, obviously, terrific story from a couple of weeks ago. Christian Bezuidenhout, he didn't lose his PGA Tour card, did he? Or did he?
Not sure.
He's playing this week, which I thought was
Do you need to keep up a number of DP World appearances in order to be eligible?
I think he might be an ISPS Honda ambassador.
It might be a hander because they do get a few. Lucas Herbert, the defending champion, won't be there this week, obviously, because he's at LIV Golf in Adelaide. The other Australians, Brad Kennedy, Anthony Quayle, Jason Scriver and Hayden Barron. I'm going to tip Takumi Kanai just because he won the first event of the Japan season a couple of weeks ago, and he just looks like the player. He's not unbeatable in Japan, but he and Nakajima in particular have been close. They've been almost a Scotty Scheffler between them the last 12 months or so.
Yeah.
Well, you've pretty much set that one up for me because I've picked Keita Nakajima. So,
well, there goes all of the people I had on the list, which is a little bit annoying. So let's throw a bit more of a random one and go with Daniel Hillier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, good player. Should suit this sort of stuff. Interesting also that Matthew Pavon is playing here.
Yes, there's
again, I think might be an ISPS Honda ambassador without knowing.
Whereas Lokes, this might be one of those DP World Tour things. You want to play the Ryder Cup, you've got to keep your points up and your number of events. I'm sure that plays a role. Hey?
It might be both.
It could be both, yeah.
Both reasons.
And this
it's a win-win.
The elusive win.
Yeah. The ISPS Honda Championship, of course, keeps the global golf jacket swing going. So we mentioned plaid last week. We forgot Corrales Punta Cana is where you get the staff smock.
Yeah. It's
like a white
butcher's
butcher's jacket type
lab
deal.
coat, isn't it? Really?
Outerwear swing.
With the big wide brim hat with the resort on it, which is beautiful.
Well, they're one of the sponsors, Jimmy, as we found, one of the 19 sponsors.
Correct. But then this week you get the big overcoat thing and you get the samurai headdress. A bit of a sleeper. People don't really realise, and when Lucas Herbert won last year, some of the best photos you'll ever see in golf. Just giant headdress and big green jacket thing. So the jacket swing continues.
Put a note in the diary for Sunday afternoon. I've got to see that.
Yeah. You've got to have a look at this. This is outstanding.
Apparel-based winning.
Yeah. Just because then you just remember that tournament. See, it sticks in my mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, that will just about do us for episode 60. Rod, not running off to school, your home day.
Online school today, last day of school.
Last day
of school.
So graduation.
Roddy's graduating.
We didn't say that. We said it was the last day of school. They are two very separate and different things. Little Roddy's a bit behind and has some work to do, so he's asked for an extension.
Oh, okay. This sounds awfully like my school career.
It has been, honestly, it's been an education seeing how adult education works, and I have not passed that test with flying colours, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Speaking of education, Logue, you're in for an education tomorrow when Matt Burns and I once again dominate you and Porter and maybe actually win in a gala day for the first time.
Well, yeah, okay. That's wishful thinking, given your record.
We're at Roseville and Camaret tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hope you've had good miles under your legs. There's some decent walking to be had, especially at Roseville.
I couldn't tell you the last time I touched a golf club. So
yeah, I haven't played much recently either, and I haven't played Roseville for more 20 years or so.
It's been a long time for me as well. So
see how that goes.
It will be interesting. You can follow along with all these tournaments and so much more at golfaustralia.com.au, including Matt Cleary on the ground at LIV Golf Adelaide. So he'll be filing every day down there for the website. And while you're watching all that golf, get a copy of the May issue of Golf Australia magazine. Lucas Herbert is on the cover, gives a big talk about joining LIV and everything that's gone behind it. Very interesting read. Thank you for listening to Playing from the Tips. We will be back next week.